Hey everyone, thanks so much for tuning into today's episode of the Power to Pivot podcast. I am so excited. We're going to have so much fun today. I am joined by Tiffany Rochelle. She has gone from, what did we say before the show? The people chameleon to the
Yeah.
people's cheerleader. Woohoo! Tiffany, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. Please pardon my tears. I'm super excited. I'm super nervous. You're amazing. It is just so awesome to be in the presence of some amazingness. So thank you.
Oh, no, thank you. You're like glowing. So tell us.
You sure it's a glow? It might just be my oily skin. I'm playing. Okay.
You are like, you're glowing. How did we get to be the people's cheerleader?
Life happened and it caused me to become the people's cheerleader. Sorry. Again, I have very watery eyes this morning. I have zero clue of what's happening right now. Nevertheless, life happened to me, and I have always been able to be the person that can cheerlead everybody else on. I've always been that individual that's had my hand in everybody's back, pushing them to success, right? And I can do that for people. And it just came a point in time where, you know what, Tiffany, you need some help. You need some encouragement. You need to do some self evaluation, some soul searching. Go and take care of you. So it went from me being able to fit in with everybody else. I'm a PK. I'm a former pastor's wife. So PK, preacher's kid, just in case. And then I was a pastor's wife, and I was a mom. That's not a was. My kids are still alive. And so
You're always a mom.
always a mom. They're 26, 25, and 21 now. So that's the only reason why I say it was, because they grown and I'm an empty nester.
Yeah.
But I have always had to kind of be everything for everybody else. Being like that preacher's kid, you got to always have your good posture, and you got to make sure things are together. And you have this, what I'm gonna call a church face. You always had to have this perfect, like you're just always done up, so to speak. And it just seemed like I just had to always be together. I was broken. I was hurting. I became a mom at 15. I became a wife at 15. So,
Ooh, you were still a baby.
I was still a baby. Fun fact, puberty had really just started for me maybe like 2 years prior. So I was kind of like a late bloomer to a degree.
Gotcha.
And so like I am just kind of starting to discover myself. And in the process of me like learning who Tiffany is, Tiffany became a mom. Yeah, I became a mom because I got pregnant and we had to cover it up and I had to get married.
Gotcha.
So it was one of those things. And I just like, as I'm discovering me, it kind of became to a halt because I had a new, I don't want to call it a personality, but I had a new face. I had a new mask that I had to hide behind, because now I became a wife and I became a mom. So it's like I didn't know who I was. I didn't get the chance to really learn and discover me, because I had to learn how to discover to be that beautiful wife. I had to be that one that was put together, had the long hair. I went through a transition and I was like, I don't want long hair. Everybody knows me as long hair. Cut it off.
Do
So
you
it
have
was,
more fun with it short?
oh, absolutely. Oh my gosh, I just feel, oh, and then with these hot flashes that I've been experiencing, I'm now in um, Florida. So between being in the hot weather and having personal summers, geez, me being, as I consider, I'm not bald headed, but as I consider bald headed, because I came from having long hair. My hair was just a little longer than yours. And because I got it at that time, my thing set up a little high. So I kind of could have it a little covering a little bit as if I was Eve, so to speak. So it just, I needed to cut it off. I needed to change. But I was just that girl that had to be proper and I needed to transition. And so I'm cheerleading everybody else. I'm in everybody else's corner. Hey, you can do it. You can do it. But I kind of needed that too. Now, I'm not saying I didn't have a good support system in my family. I'm not saying that. But then there's just certain things that I just needed to discover, and time had to do it. It was just one of those things that I needed.
What kind of pressure did that put you under? Like when you're, and I know for me, right? Like I felt that too. I felt like I had to put that mask on not let anybody know what was really going on,
Sure.
and sort of hide it. But like,
Yeah.
what was that pressure like for you?
Oh, pressure bust pipes. And there was a plenty of times that I felt like I was just really just going to pop. Honest answer. While I was married for 7 years to my kid's father, we have three gorgeous children, excuse me, adults. Now
It's okay. They're always kids to you.
they're always going to be kids. Well, it was, I guess, because I'm talking in past tense also. At that time, they were kids,
Yeah.
or babies whatsoever. And I had to be perfect, I felt. And it was just like this persona that we had to kind of keep up. There's many times that I remember he and I would be in the car sometimes just having conversations with each other, but the conversations were heated conversations. But soon as that door opened, it was like showtime. Okay, everything is all right. I am broken inside. We're broke. Car is about to be repossessed. Don't have, like, getting ready not to have a roof over our head. How are the kids getting ready to eat? I'm not working. He's not working. How are we about to make things happen? So I'm just like, oh my God. And on top of that, I'm a teenager. So I can't really get a job. All I can really do is go to school. I mean, I've been working since I was 15, but that was kind of hard to finagle, trying to find a job that I'm able to do, being pregnant, needing to be in school, and trying to provide for the family. So that kind of became tough. I think later on, right before we were getting ready to get the divorce, about right before the divorce finalized, the pressure really got to me, and I believe suicide became the staple for me.
Ooh.
It wasn't, I believe, it really was a fact. Suicide was definitely there. Next thing you know, I found myself waking up in the hospital.
Oh my gosh.
So suicide was very real. That's why I'm saying pressure bust pipes, because I feel like that was the only way out. Things just became like spiraling. I ain't gonna put all of our business out, but if you want to see some of it, you can get that book back there.
What is the name of that book?
I Choose Me. I
There
don't
you
have
go.
a lot of it in there, but there's a little bit of how I became and how I started to choose me. But it just became to a point where I was just like, the only way that I am going to be able to free myself from this pain that I was experiencing was to leave this earth. And I don't think life has to ever become that pressure filled. Hence the reason why I decided to move from Seattle. That's where I was born and raised, to down here to Florida. Florida is where I grew up. And had I not made that transition, and I didn't change my mind, my world, my being around here, I probably would have just said, you know what, I might not have been here, because this is really the place that I needed to be at. I needed that shift so that I can realize life really is worth living. And I needed to be, to me, what I was to everybody else. I might nurture everybody else, but I was pouring from my cup. And at that time, my cup was empty. So here it is that I'm giving from an empty place, and I needed to fill me up. And I didn't really have too many people that was filling me up. They were like, oh, hey, you could do it. You could be strong. I got tired of being strong. I did not want to be strong at all. I just really wanted to be, as the Bible declares, the weaker vessel. And I just wanted to be, it was okay for me to be a weak individual. And that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm a punk, or, I'm going to be crying all the time or anything like that. I just want to feel like I can be gentle. Like, if I don't want to smile, I don't want to smile. If I feel like laughing, I can laugh. Whatever emotion that I was feeling, I wanted to feel it and be in it. And I believe that's something that's okay for us to do. We always want to make people feel like you got to be perfect. It is okay. Positivity, positivity. Don't get me wrong. I believe in being positive, but I also believe in being in that moment, so I can get all this negativity out, so I can be the realistic, positive individual, versus having this positive worldview and it's not necessarily a real positive worldview. Get me there.
It's an important reminder, though, because we're emotional beings. Like, we have feelings. It was a lesson that has taken me a while to learn too. Like, it's safe to feel those feelings.
Absolutely.
We need to feel those feelings. Once you look at those feelings, accept them, like, we're afraid to admit that dark place exists inside of us. But we don't have to. Like, everybody goes through it. And the more you let yourself go to that place, and I'm not saying stay there, right? I'm with you. Like it feels way better to be on that positive side. But there gets up to be a point where you want it to be that authentic positivity, not this eggshell sort of like mask. Because at that point you run like you're almost tiptoeing on eggshells around your own life.
Right. I'm not doing it.
Right. That's a lot.
Definitely. I'm not eggshelling anything. If I eggshell anything, it's probably because I've cracked some eggs and I have decided to eat omelets, even though I don't really like eggs, or I'm wearing an eggshell color. That's eggshell for me. I'm not walking on eggshells for anybody else. Now, don't get me wrong. That does not mean that I get to be a bully out here. That doesn't mean that I get to be condescending and being disrespectful to individuals and not being sensitive to people's feelings. But that also doesn't mean that I'm going to just be tiptoeing around and not being authentic to who I am. So if you're in a mood, I'm going to reverence and respect the space that you're in. However, that just may not be where I want to be. And if you're feeling like being negative, I'm going to do my level best to try to pull you out of it. But also I have to, if you're not ready for it, I can't force it on you. But I do want you to feel those feelings. I definitely believe we have to experience every feeling and every emotion. Do not, don't divorce yourself from that feeling prematurely. Feel it. If you're angry, be mad. If you're sad, be sad. Get it out. You can't get to the other side and be that authentic you if you don't get that out. And for me, a lot of that was suppressed. I wanted to cry. I'm 15. I want to go to the prom. I really wanted to go to the Tolo. At that time, we had this bubbling brown sugar. I wanted to go to that. Like, it was things that I wanted to do, but I just wasn't able to do it. I became pregnant. I became married. And I was not allowed to do some of those things. I wanted to go to the movies with everybody, and I couldn't do some of those things. But I think we need to be authentic to who we are, and being in those moments, those matter.
What do you think it is that scares people the most about that authenticity? And I say that from, I guess from both the positive and the negative, because there's inauthentic positivity as well.
Absolutely.
Which is that mask that we're talking about, like everything's okay and I have all my stuff together. What do you think it is that holds people back from that authenticity?
I kind of think it's going to be change. Like, we become so comfortable in being in that particular space that we're in because we're used to it. I'm used to being either in negative spaces or I'm used to being in positive spaces. So I think it's sometimes uncomfortable. Change can be uncomfortable. And I think sometimes we just don't want to face the change because I don't want to be uncomfortable.
There's a lot of fear there, for sure.
I think it's a lot of it.
But you can dance through that. I promise you, whoever's listening right now, you can dance through that fear.
When I like dancing.
Yeah, right? Feels a lot better. Can you walk us back a minute, right? Like, when you're waking up in the hospital, was that the moment when you were like, I need to make this change? Like, was that your pivot point?
Not yet. My pivot point, I still had some work to do. It was not until probably 2 years after the divorce that I was just like, I'm not going anywhere. Like, I was working at Microsoft. I worked at Key Arena also. So that was one of the arenas that was there in Washington. And I was starting to work 2 jobs, and the kids, they were provided for. I did an awesome job making sure, that they was taken care of. But it's just, I started feeling depleted, and I just felt like life wasn't worth living. And it's just like, I already tried, ending my life. That didn't work. So I'm like, okay, I still have purpose here. What's happening? So I'm gonna still go ahead and do it. I'm still living. But I just felt like I was just here. I guess they say, I'm not living, I'm existing. I heard the statement said. So I was just kind of there, and I'm like dealing with the kids, and I'm a mom, so that's what I'm supposed to do. But it just felt like I'm just here. And what is my purpose? What is my life? What is my life worth living? Like, what am I supposed to do? I know I'm a mom. I get it. Now I was supposed to be this beautiful daughter, and I was supposed to be this wonderful wife, and I'm supposed to be this amazing mom. But one of those things I'm no longer. But I just felt like, what's happening with my life? What am I supposed to do? So I did get some counseling. And I got me, it wasn't until later that I ended up getting a coach. But I just was like, something has to change. And thanks be unto God, I know how to pray. And I heard this wonderful voice tell me that you're going to live. And I'm like, I'm living here. I'm still living, duh. But it was still like, you still have life to live. And I went and decided to take a vacation. It was just going to be me by myself. But I was like, all right, fine, I'm gonna take my daughter. Me and her haven't just been somewhere by ourselves. So me and her came down to Florida, and I was like, oh my God, this is absolutely amazing. I like it here. I was like, this feels great. I woke up at 6 o'clock in the morning to go for a walk, and it was smoldering hot outside. I love the heat, for the record. And so I went outside, and I'm like this personal summer that I'm having like right now, that's what it was like when I went outside. And I was like, this is amazing to wake up in the morning and it be hot. This is great. I went to sleep and it was hot. So when I used to watch the news when I was in Seattle, I never understood how Floridians will be outside, what I'm calling naked, because they would be in a tank top and like poom poom shorts and flip flop thongs. And it didn't make sense to me, because in Seattle, when it's raining and the sun may be out, it still might be a little cold. But down here, it didn't make sense until I got here. And I was like, this feels like a good change. So once I came down here, I was like summertime. By November, I moved. We transitioned. And of course, I had to put the proper documents into the courts. That was a transition. But then once I did that, that's when I became to the point where I was going to grow. And that was my pivot point, was once I transitioned from Seattle, this is where I started to live. So this is where I say I grew up. I was born and raised up in Washington State, but this is where I grew up at. This is where I was able to discover, and I became me.
I love that.
Authentic me that you were. I've always been this individual, but I didn't grow up with her. This was like the one that was suppressed, or this is the one that didn't get the opportunity to grow. She was kind of like a preemie, because her growth stopped at a particular time, because I started becoming a mom and a wife. So like, this is who I grew up to be. And I absolutely enjoy this pivot. This was the best decision of my life. I had a lot of people that didn't like it. They wanted me to stay, and you need to stay here, and this is what you need to do. And I heard their voice, I heard what they said, but it was time for me to take care of me, because I've always taken care of them. And I still can take care of you from afar. Money travels as long as you have an airplane, train, or an automobile. I can still get to you.
And we have Zoom. You can call, like, we can listen, we can support from afar. Absolutely.
But it was time for me to take care of me. And at that point, I was feeling like I was starting to spiral, and I was just kind of like a zombie. I was just there. And granted, you enjoyed me while I was there. I'm not saying I was just this rude, shrewd, or a prude or anything like that. I mean, you still had fun around me, but I wasn't happy. So the minute that I came down here, did I have trials and tribulations? Absolutely, still had them down here, but it was just a different worldview. That's when I got the coach down here, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. I started growing up, and I was like, wow, I feel great. I'm going to the beach, and when I spent Christmas on the beach, oh my God, I never thought that can happen. So I always just be cold.
I'm so jealous, Tiffany. Freezing right now in Scranton.
I would love to share some of this heat with you.
Send it our way.
That was just amazing. It was.
I'm so proud of you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. That feels great. Do you know we should really say that a lot to people?
We should.
We really should. That's an amazing thing. I try to tell people often. Now, everybody don't get to hear it, but there are a lot of people that I'm real life proud of. And I think it's an amazing feeling to hear it. And when you hear like, wait a minute, you're proud of me? And then don't let me like look at some of your work. And I'm like, yeah, you were sharing on social media, and I watched your website, and you just released, for a person to be able to say like, this is why I'm proud of you, and this is what I'm seeing. geez, that's an amazing feeling. So it just makes you want to do better. Like, I think we should celebrate that. I really would have loved to hear that more while I was growing up. I'm not saying that I didn't hear it. I would have loved to hear it more. I think it just would have been more impactful, but I'm grateful for where I'm at. I'm grateful for what I did hear.
What is the biggest takeaway when you look back on everything? If you had to sum up in like one little nugget.
My biggest takeaway is I didn't give up. Can't give you one word. Sorry.
That's okay. That's a little nugget.
I did not give up. I think there's power in not giving up. Even though I tried, I didn't succeed. And in that, it shows it's worth, don't give up. So there's certain things that you're not going to be successful at, but just because you wasn't successful at it, that does not mean that you stop. You keep going. I ain't saying don't stop trying to kill yourself in that aspect.
Right. Absolutely.
At a particular point, I tried to end my life. I wasn't successful with that. So for me, there's still something left for me to do. So let's pivot, let's change, let's transition, let's find where your purpose is at. Let's find what life is worth living for. Like, so for me, I was just grateful that life didn't end, that I still do it again.
And you get to help so many people, like with your story, with the work that you're doing now. I say this a lot, but I'm going to say it again. Sure. I'm going to keep saying it. Failure is data.
Okay.
Like, it's okay that it didn't work out. It's okay that you have to keep moving on. Look at what was not working. Make the choice. That's the first step, right? You make that choice that something has to change, and that's your pivot point. Absolutely. But failure is not bad. You know what didn't work. Now you can, okay, what else is there? And now all these other possibilities open up.
Absolutely.
So tell us what has come from that pivot. How are you helping people today in your work?
Good stuff. Well, I will say, like, what I said from the Genesis, I've loved helping people. I've always been that hand in your back. But I am doing that from a healthy place now. So all the failures that I experienced in my past, being the mom of three, then becoming the single, mother of three, the past traumas and hurts, I want individuals to understand, especially ladies. That's who I primarily deal with. I primarily help and empower ladies. I want them to be encouraged. And forgive themselves for certain things that has happened in their life. I think forgiveness is big. And that's one of the things that I primarily deal with is matters of the heart, and making sure you're forgiving yourself first before you start forgiving others. Once we start forgiving self, there's going to be some increased joy that you're going to experience in your life and some freedom. You're going to be able to imagine some weight lifted off your shoulders when you finally decide to forgive yourself. And so that's what I do is I decide to take women on a journey to forgiveness and to freeing themselves from past hurt, past trauma, past things that were triggering you. Whatever was your trigger, let's not allow that to, fine. If you want to put your finger on the trigger, pull it so it doesn't, that bullet's done, over with, get rid of that. But we're going through those traumatic experiences and we're being able to live past them. So we're going to divorce the memory and the moment. Sometimes we will live in that moment and you're always going to remember it. You're always going to know what happened, but sometimes in the process of us remembering that, we get in that moment and we just remember, oh my God, and when we start telling the story, you start feeling it all over again, and now you're reliving it. We need to divorce the memory and that moment. So it's fine to remember it. That's okay, but you're not in that now. Live through it. And that's what I try to empower women to do now is live. It's okay to live. It's a beautiful feeling to live. It's a freeing feeling to live. So I love it.
For your soul.
Isn't it? It's so freeing. It's so refreshing. I definitely believe that's something that we need to do. We need to forgive, to release ourselves from the suffocating grip of anger, because that's what happens. There's corrosive effects to that. And I think we need to release ourselves from that. We definitely have to free ourselves from that. So allow forgive you, forgive other individuals, and they may not forgive you back. It's okay. It's for you. Forgiveness is you. So how you're able to grow, how you're able to move forward. So yeah.
I love that. I think that's so important. And to also remember, like, as you're going through that, those people might not come with you. Either they don't forgive you, even if they do. The more you uplift yourself and your needs, your preferences, what you want will change.
Absolutely.
And maybe they were only supposed to be there to teach you a lesson. They're not supposed to be there for the full marathon, you know.
Seasons change, right?
Yeah.
Winter, spring, summer, and fall. So we have different seasons. Some people just can't go with you to that next level, but you celebrate them and appreciate them for where you're at. My marriage didn't work. It failed, you know, and it is, I'm not in it now, but I will say, even though we didn't make it, I still celebrate him for the things that I was able to learn through that. So I appreciate the lessons that were taught in those particular seasons, because if it hadn't been for those, I wouldn't be the individual that I am now. Did I like going through them? Absolutely not.
It was not fun in the moment, but
not. But for me, I was able to reflect and I can think back. And for me, from my healed place, I can appreciate that. Now, when I was in that point, oh my God, I hate it. And oh my God, became a bitter individual. I had to let bitterness subside. And I had to let it go. It's a freeing feeling to let it go. And sometimes we'll feel like, and I think that kind of goes back to that fear of change. It's okay to change. We may see certain things and this is what we want, but if it's not going there, find out what works. These lessons, learn those lessons in those particular times, shift some things out, but you're still going to make progress to that end goal that you want to see.
Yeah. If you could give one tip to get somebody started in the process, because it's a process, right? We will choose to forgive, right? I'm gonna forgive him, but it's still a process to actually go through the motions and feel the feelings, and then you arrive at forgiveness.
Sure.
But can you maybe give a tip or two for somebody who's holding on to some of that anger or bitterness or resentment so that they can open their hearts and start their journey?
Sure. You got to give yourself grace, because that's the unfortunate thing that we do not do, is give ourselves grace. We want things to be instant, and like I might be dating myself right here. But there was a little, it's not a cartoon, it was a show like Bewitched. I think she was the one that like twinkled her nose.
Yep.
You know, do one of these things and things instantly happen and things will magically appear or disappear or whatever. Sometimes we want that to happen in our journey for life, whether it's for forgiveness, rather, even if it's just for jobs, going to school, we want instant, we see stuff on social media and we immediately want things. We have to understand that life isn't a microwave. We're not going to instantly be able to stick it in there 2 minutes later, it's hot and it's done and we're getting that. It doesn't happen that way. And when it doesn't happen instantly, you got to give yourself some grace, because it's not going to be easy all the time, but that doesn't mean you stop. So it's like, oh, I want to forgive him. He done did something stupid, or she has done something stupid, and I can't believe that happened. And it's okay. Give yourself grace. Hey, you might have failed, or you might say, hey, I want a weight loss journey and I'm trying to lose weight and I just pigged out all day today. That doesn't mean that you failed. Okay, pick yourself up, dust yourself off. You ate a whole bunch today. You know what? You went and gave him a hug and you didn't want to. I said I was going to leave him alone. I was going to leave her alone. And you kind of didn't. All right, start again. You have grace to start again. You have grace to do it all over again. Just don't beat yourself up. That's the tip. Give yourself grace and don't beat yourself up. You can always start again.
Yes.
Don't encourage me
like. Tell us about the book. So I Choose Me.
I have two. I Choose Me and Gold Digger. So for me, I primarily deal with in excavating these feelings from our hearts. And because I believe out of the abundance of our heart, our mouth speaks. And so we have to guard our hearts diligently, because out of that flows the issues of life. And so I Choose Me was a journey that I went on, and I had to decide to choose me. And I became a better mom, and I became a better daughter, even a better sister. I'm the baby of three. So I became a better individual. I even became a better friend because I was able to choose me. I think it is totally okay with choosing yourself. And it's okay being selfish. It doesn't necessarily mean that there has to be some negativity. I think we associate being, oh, you're selfish. We associate that to be negative, but I have to be selfish with me. If I don't guard myself and guard my feelings, you won't be able to get a good outcome, I should say. So sometimes I want to say we, an individual, I have some feelings. You might be angry about something, you might be pissed off about something, and you might come and start talking to me, and I'm angry. I need to be aware enough with myself and say, hey, now's not a good time. Hey, Tiffany, can I talk to you? Depends on about what, like I'm aware enough. Hey, so I'm experiencing this. Yes, you could talk to me, but I'm gonna need about 30 minutes. Can we schedule that for a later time? Just because I know I'm dealing with something in that moment. I need to be selfish with me. If I start talking to you while I'm angry, while I'm upset, or whatever feeling I'm in, I might throw that back at you. So in the process of me being selfish, I'm dealing with my feelings. I'm dealing with me. So that's kind of like how that I Choose Me kind of came about. It's okay to be selfish with you. It's okay to forgive you, and it's okay to learn. Don't let nobody make you feel bad about choosing you. So I think that's something that we need to do, is to choose ourselves. Be selfish. Take
Yes.
negativity out of that. It is not necessarily a bad thing to be selfish. Go ahead and be selfish with you, appreciate you, and choose you. So
Woohoo! Where can we find the book? Where can people find you?
you can definitely find a book. You can go on Amazon and look up I Choose Me under Tiffany Rochelle, or go to my website. I love to tell you to go to my website. You find some fun stuff over there on my website. My website is called beautiful.me, and it's spelled BYOUTIFUL.me. So and I did it on purpose with that, because my company is bYou. So why be somebody else when you're so doggone good at being yourself? So being you, you're beautiful when you're being you. So now I had to use the me, because I want you to beautiful me. I am beautiful. So everything is about self. It's okay for you to tune into you. So, and then Goal Digger is also setting goals that are authentic to you. Sometimes my mom wanted me to be a lawyer because she said I always like to argue. And I was like, that's not what I want to do. But I wanted to do something that made my mother happy. When I was growing up, I wanted to be a nurse. A surgical nurse is what I really wanted to be. My mom wanted me to be she wanted me to be a lawyer. That's what I wanted. But as life grew up, here we go with change. It's okay for things to change. I wanted to be a surgical nurse. That's not what I am. Now here it is. Trying to motivate the masses, and trying to make individual or women, I won't say make, but I'm encouraging women to authentically choose them and rid toxins from their hearts. So that's what my purpose is. That's what my goal is. But the Goal Digger is setting goals that are authentic to you. Sure, mom might want you to do something. Dad, friends, cousins, family members may want you to do something. But what is it that you want to do? What's authentic to your purpose? What lines up with your goals and your dreams, your aspirations? What makes you tick? What makes you smile? So that's kind of how Goal Digger came about, is setting things and you're finding out what makes you happy and it's authentic to you. The minute that you start doing what makes you happy, life becomes better and people appreciate you a little bit more.
Yeah,
They
it brings a
like you.
completely different energy when you're in that space.
Absolutely.
Because
Absolutely.
otherwise we're still like that eggshell. We're like tucked in, hidden away, and it's a completely different energy. So I'm so happy for you. I'm so proud of you. Thank you for sharing your story with us.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate that. I love sharing my story. Anytime I get a chance to share my story or to encourage, if it's only one individual, I don't care if there's thousands of individuals that I'm in front of, if it's hundreds of individuals or just one, if there is something that I can say to help impact or change or shift somebody's world, I'm grateful for it.
Oh, thank you so much, guys. Make sure you head over. We'll put all the links in the show notes. check out the book, get the workbook, check her out on YouTube, The People's Cheerleader, Tiffany Rochelle. Thank you again, guys. We are going to wrap up like we do every episode. You are never stuck. You are never lost, and you are never, ever alone. At any given moment, you can use your power to pivot, make a new choice, and start again. We will see everyone on the next episode. Make sure you get I Choose Me, and then go choose you.